All right. Welcome, Greg, from YourInception to the Nootralize Podcast.
Hi there, man. Thanks for having me over.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. To start with, I'm interested, what principles of self-experimentation are the most important ones in your opinion?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, when I started like researching and testing nootropics, I was really thinking about how to start with that, what to focus on, how to measure certain results, and then, based on that, figure out which nootropics work for me or not. So I think, like, in my opinion, like the first thing should be, whatever you do, you should really try to avoid overdosing, So we don't know how each compound will influence you or like influence a particular individual. So that would be like the first starting point is to do your research, try individual compounds, individual nootropics, one by one, see how they affect you. Then you can, start with lower dosages. I think it's very important to do that because some people really like to overdose from the very beginning, even though they really don't know what's going to happen. And after you know how your body reacts to certain nootropics, to certain dosages, then you can start combining compounds. Then you can start increasing dosages. Then you can start taking them more often, or on a daily basis, or doing more advanced experiments. But you should really start slowly. Doing the basic research to know what can you expect from a particular compound, and then of course try to measure the results in a way that you figure out if it works for you or not. And I think another important thing would be also to understand, I mean, there's a thing called placebo, right? Placebo effects.
Mm-hmm.
And here in when it comes to nootropics, usually, like most nootropics, I mean, you have experience with nootropics as well. So usually many nootropics don't really deliver super strong, like short-term energy focus boost, they're not
Right.
smart drugs. In my opinion, I try to really separate those two terms, like nootropics and smart drugs. And the thing is, of course, if you buy a particular nootropic, you invest some time into doing the research, and you definitely want to get some benefits, right? And of course, it can happen quite quickly. I mean, you feel the benefits, even though it's just the placebo. So I mean, you need to be aware of that. And I mean, when people are doing research, they should really check what the science say about the particular compound, and based on that, I think it's going to be easier to avoid this, the placebo, and to kind of get more objective results or effects.
I got a question for you there. Don't you think that it's actually higher risk of a placebo effect if you know that there's science to show that it is effective?
Yeah, it's definitely, that's a good question. Absolutely. It is. I think it is. If you see, like, there are like, there have been 20 studies done on healthy individuals saying that if you take X amount of one compound, that everyone gets the same effects, or like the majority of people get the same effects. Then of course you would expect those effects to happen. But at the same time, you would at least know that there's science behind that compound. And for many nootropics, there is really no science behind it. So yeah, I think kind of depends from individual to individual, but in my opinion, is like, if you do the research, because one issue I see quite often, people often contact me or my team, and they ask us, like, I've checked like those 20 nootropics, I just want to take them, all of them, like, can you just give me the maximum dosages, that I start experimenting with that. And this is usually super risky to do, like the way people imagine, just mixing 20 compounds together and taking them. And the reason why this happens is usually people don't do any research before that. And they don't know what to expect. They just heard some terms, and then some nootropics work, and because of that, they came across those nootropics and they just bought them. So
Right.
I think if you do the research, it's definitely going to help you at least avoid like potentially risky compounds, I think, and also those that we know, as far as as the science showed so far, we know that they're probably not, delivering any effects to healthy individuals.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely in that one should start their self-experimentation with the compounds and the doses, or smaller doses actually, that have been researched. But the
Exactly.
placebo effect could be even stronger, in my opinion, at least, for those compounds as well. So I'm
Yeah,
interested.
I definitely agree on that. I mean, especially the short term like placebo effect
Yeah,
would be seen, right, quite quickly.
right.
But if you would like test, I mean, that's based just on my experience. When I was testing a particular compound for a longer period, of course, the first day I wanted to feel the benefits. It
Right.
was like I wanna get something out of it.
Yeah.
And then, but after you continue taking the same compound for a longer period, I think then the placebo effect kind of goes away, or like fades away.
Mm.
You maybe forget about the effects. You more, like there's one example. I was recently testing this nicotine gum. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have that much experience with nicotine. I don't smoke, and I generally try to avoid like nicotine supplements. And there was like I did like a 7-day test, and on the 6th day, I think it was, I just chewed the gum as I was supposed to, and then I got a call from a friend of mine,
Mm-hmm.
and I forgot I had the gum in my mouth, right?
Right.
And then like 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes later, I started feeling super sick. And I
Oh,
was like, the first 6 days, I didn't really feel like super strong effects. There was
yeah.
like, okay, I felt a bit more focused, but I like put the gum out in about 15 minutes or something like that. I felt more relaxed and a bit more focused maybe, but that's about it. But on the 6th day, I just forgot about it. I forgot that I'm chewing the gum, I have it in my mouth, and I forgot about the potential effects, like the good and the side effects. And what happened was, first of all, I started feeling like slightly sick. Then I felt super sick. Then of course, when I remember it, like I threw the gum out immediately. Then I felt super sick for a while. But then when the sickness kind of went away, and it took probably 10 to 15 minutes, then I got like a really strong rush of, I felt super relaxed, but also super focused. Like it was really a great feeling, and yeah, so it was really funny, because I don't know if that would happen if I would be like focusing on the effect, because the first 6 days really there were not such effects didn't happen, right? But when I forgot I have the gum in my mouth, I felt something totally different. Of course, then it all like the effects were stronger because I had it in my mouth for a longer period, but I didn't really think about the effect at all, because I just
Mm,
forgot I had there.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, the placebo effect is definitely a tricky one. Um, so I guess the principle to take away, in my interpretation of what you just said, is that you should self-experiment with the substances that have science backing their efficacy.
Yeah, I think the majority of people should start there.
Yeah.
They're like a very small amount of people from different professions that have the basic know-how about how nootropics work,
Mm-hmm.
and also like more like advanced biohackers and whatnot. Um, of course, they probably have a better overview of particular nootropics, or can, if they do a quick research, they can understand what to expect from a particular nootropic much faster than the majority of people, I think. And if we want to, if people really have the know-how, of course they can also start with the less research nootropics. Of course, there's not, I think it's less risky. But if people are just, and based on my experience, people really, like the majority of people, they just, as I said before, they just mix everything together, like with no real understanding why they're doing it. And because I want to avoid that, because the stories I hear from people, I get on my email maybe at least a couple of emails per week. People start getting super sick. They puke. They have like lots of unwanted side effects.
Mm.
And I really don't want that to happen, right? So if you self-experiment, maybe start on the with safer, more proven side effects free nootropics.
Yeah.
and then move when you see how your body reacts to them, then move into those that maybe are less researched and potentially more effective, but also potentially more risky.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So you mentioned that you did a 7-day experiment with nicotine,
Yeah.
and then you had this forgetting of the fact that you were taking it as a sort of pro as regards to the design of the experiment. Like it was positive for the scientific validity of the experiment that you forgot about it. So you can actually get a better view of the true effects of nicotine.
Yeah.
Thanks to the fact that you forgot about it. But that's probably quite hard to like systematically every time you want to self-experiment with a nootropic, forget that you are using it.
Exactly.
So do you have any principles of testing nootropics that are more that are easier to implement every single time you want to test a new nootropic?
Oh yeah, I mean, like, so we develop a pretty, like, kind of an advanced system for evaluating effectiveness of nootropics, but I mean, we can go into that a bit later. In terms of testing a particular nootropic and, you know, getting rid of you know, the fact that you remember that you have it and that you expect some kind of like effect. Like one thing that I tried, and I did this for a very long period, was that I played the dual end bag game. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's a pretty popular, I think, memory game. Very advanced one. I mean, it gets advanced when you progress through different levels, basically.
Did you mention the name of the
Yeah,
game?
it's dual and back.
Okay, I see. Yeah,
Yeah, I can send you the link later on. You know?
Yeah, sure. I know
So
it.
okay, that's perfect then.
Mm-hmm.
So while in the very beginning, when I started, like, you know, doing the you know, testing nootropics, I always kind of did the same thing. So I took the, you know, an amount of a particular nootropic. I sat down for a couple of minutes. I usually meditated a bit, you know, tried to get relaxed and stuff. And then I often played this particular game, starting at the same level every single time. And since, you know, when I was, you know, testing individual compounds, I usually, you know, I tested them for a short period, then I took a couple of days off, I repeated the process and so on. So it was really hard to improve your results by playing the game just because I played so much. That was very difficult to do. So you would need, so basically, if you see an improvement in results, they were probably because of some other factors. And of course, you know, one day you're more focused, you have more energy. The second day you're more stressed. It's difficult to objectively measure the results. But anyway, when I play this game, and I usually play it for like 30 to 60 minutes, and then I was, you know, kind of tired after that. Then you know, you're really focused on playing the game. You're not focused. You're not thinking about how the compound that you just took affects you in a good or a bad way. And you know, it's still, I think, impossible here to totally eliminate the placebo effect. But the results were, you know, very interesting to see what kind of results you got, or at least, like, you know, you could definitely it's kind of it was one step towards getting into this phase of, you know, forgetting about that you took a particular nootropic before, and I had like very, very interesting results for that. And so that was one way how I did it at the very beginning.
Have you looked at any experimental designs or trying to use a placebo pill or a nootropic, like alternating between the two and not knowing which one is which, and controlling for placebo in that way?
Yeah, so what we did is actually, that's quite funny. What we did is we had like, especially that was, we started doing this a bit later when we're getting a lot of nootropic stacks and or supplements at home or in the office. so I got like, I didn't know what kind of supplement I got. I had no idea what's in, what kind of compounds, what are the dosages. I just got like, a couple of pills. And then sometimes what we did is some of the pills were like either empty or like they put in like fake powder, like, sugar or whatever. So I didn't know like which of the pills were like, the real supplement and which were not, And sometimes they switched, so my team switched like different supplements. And for them, there's one like they had like zero effects, like absolutely nothing happened. And even the ingredients that were in were really, not optimal, and the dosages and stuff. But the pills were pretty much the same. So it was impossible to see difference between the pills. So they just swap the pills and measure the results, and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did, for example. And you could, it was very easy for someone who was just measuring the results to see, the differences in the results I got personally. But for example, I do work with different researchers in this field, and with different brands that have like lots of researchers employed, or like, as part of the team, who are right now, as far as I know, developing, super advanced tests, or like using different technologies to measure, to totally objectively, as much as possible, measure different effects of different nootropics, and of course later on nootropic supplements. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, what's going to happen here in the near future.
Right. Do you think that it's best for someone who's interested to experiment themselves with nootropics to wait for companies to come with solutions to this problem of the placebo effect, and different ways to measure the placebo effect versus the effects of taking a nootropic? Or do you think that there is any methodology that one can employ now already?
Well, it depends, I think it really depends from person to person. If I think about myself, it's or like, the people that follow YourInception, for example, and people that reach out to us, like most people search for more or less proven nootropics that will deliver like certain benefits. Different people have different benefits, or like they need different benefits, they have different problems. But they want to get a product that is pretty much safe, right? So that they know with a very high, percentage, that nothing bad's gonna happen if they follow the recommendations from the brand. And I'm not saying that brands know what they're doing, like always. There are of course lots of really bad examples out there, but at least that's what people search for. So if you want to be like, if you really care about health and safety and that kind of stuff, I do think that experts, like true experts, should do that. Should do the tests, should come up with scientific methods that, and then evaluate nootropics. At least some of them, they should start somewhere, and then come up with different recommendations.
Right.
But of course, like again, there are like different people. I guess many people that follow your podcast, for example, they want to they love self experimentation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course you can always, like I did it. I went through 85 compounds, including all the vitamins and the basic stuff, but a lot of advanced nootropics I tried, experimented with, and what I did is I always start with the research, figure out what to expect, what kind of dosages to start with, and so on, and then then I did like lots of different testing, but I don't know of any more like how I would say this, more like scientific ways of doing like homemade self-experimentation
Hmm.
that would help me get like even more objective results just in terms of the effects you get from a particular compound.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a problem currently as well, and I'm looking forward to see any solutions that the companies that you mentioned you've had contact with that may come up with. And it's actually something that we're working on here at Nootralize as well. In our web application, the goal is that people should be able to figure out if a nootropic is effective for them through objective and subjective measurements, and then we'll provide statistical analyses of their data so that people can, in a scientific manner, conduct N=1 experiments to figure out if a nootropic is effective for them.
That's perfect. I think that's really like going in the right direction here, because there's a lot of unanswered questions. I just remember, like, I was just Googling in between. I remember like using Cambridge Brain Sciences, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with their products. That was back in the day. Like they had like I think they have still an online platform where you could evaluate, like you could go for different games and then evaluate different parts of your like your cognitive performance, memory, focus, attention, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I know we use that for testing, but it was always, again, there was a placebo effect. There was the how you felt on a particular day when you did the test, and there were like other factors influencing that. So there was still definitely not like a totally objective way, but it was into the right direction of, I think, better understanding particular, like the effects of a particular compound.
Right. Yeah. I do think it's great that such tools exist, and I hope that we and other companies can continue to develop them to really enable people to make scientific self-experiments to actually really determine whether something works for them in a scientific and objective manner. But currently, the best method, in my opinion, is to subjectively try to feel or just listen to your body and mind. Is this effective? Do you agree with that statement?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, we developed this. So of course, from the marketing perspective, we call it like the most advanced evaluating system for supplements. But what we did actually is we have right now like about 30 to 50 different ranking factors for particular supplements. So we each supplement category that we review, we have a different ranking system basically. But for nootropics, I think we have around 30 ranking factors that we go through. And of course, part of that are like, there are short-term effects. We check long-term effects. So part of it is like totally subjective, and part of it is objective. Of course, we looked at the ingredients that are in. Are there like what are the dosages of those ingredients? What production standards did the company use, et cetera, et cetera. So there are like about 30 factors, and of course we look at the price performance ratio and so on. So and basically when we put like all those factors together, right? When you get all the numbers there, like all the scores, and then what we did is we developed a very simple algorithm that kind of evaluates and then gets a final score, for a particular nootropic supplement, for example.
Right.
Then the final number we get, of course, it's not totally objective, and I don't think we want to have a totally objective score, because we're still different, right? So my short-term or like my experience will probably be different than your experience than for someone else. I think, at least. So, but the number we get and the final score we get, I think it's really, it's really, it should be very helpful to people when they're buying, especially when they're buying nootropic stacks, for example, to kind of see, which one is really good, really high quality, and may potentially help them improve their cognitive performance, and which one is, a bit far from that, it's not there yet, for example.
So can you go into a bit more detail as regards the subjective, and did I hear you say that you included objective measures of effectiveness as well in this algorithm?
Exactly. So, I mean, what we do. So, for example, before, like years ago, I tested all nootropic supplements, and also before that, nootropics, individual nootropics by myself. And then I figured out, that's one thing I need to fix. We need a bigger team, a lot more people testing the same supplement, and then compare the results. So that was the first thing we did, right? So right now we have usually 3 to 5 people testing the same supplement, and then measuring, like, the different stuff that want to measure for a particular supplement. But anyway, more people do that, and then we get, like, an average score of that. And this kind of helps us, if it's really one step towards getting more objective results that we can use, and the people can then get and use. But and those are like the very subjective short-term effects. But of course, then we have, like, lots of objective factors that we can check. We can check, like, dosages of each individual compound, right? That's what we can check. And we can say, okay, if we have, if there's some science saying, for example, I don't know, for bacopa, there has to be, like, based on all the studies that have been done, if you take 300 milligrams of a highly potent, I don't know, 55% of bacosides, whatever it is, if you take this compound, then you can expect these types of memory to improve if you're elderly or if you're so old, and so on. So if there are some recommendations based on the studies that have been done so far, then of course, and then we can check this and compare, like, which compounds are in this particular nootropic supplement, and what are the dosages of those, and then we see, if they're kind of if the dosages are there where they need to be or not yet, or, like, if the particular supplement is overdosed or underdosed. And then of course we have, like, we can check, like, also the quality of sometimes, of course, we can check the quality of particular nootropics. I mean, you have, like, for example, for ceticoline, right? You have, like, you probably know the brand Cognizant, right? And in Europe, like, the EFSA, the European Food Safety Association or Authority, they just recently, I think it was last year, I'm not sure about it, but I think it was last year, they proved Cognizant as a effective supplement, and they I think they marked it as a novelty food. But anyway, it's like, it's legal to use Cognizant here now in Europe, in all European countries, and this is based on all the tests that have been done, and all the studies that have been done. So, for example, for Cognizant, there are certain recommendations, how much you need to use it, and if you use Cognizant, for example, instead of like some like alpha GPC, or like some non-branded version of ceticoline, right? Then it's a higher chance that you really get a high quality extract in the supplement, right? Because the brand that is the manufacturing Cognizant has to follow certain standards too, because we know that those standards has to be followed because of EFSA, for example. Otherwise, they wouldn't be approved and they wouldn't be able to sell the supplement. So we can check this as well, and that's pretty much objective for certain nootropics, but not for all of them. That's the problem. Of course, production standards. This is kind of basic ones, but it's also objective, like to see is like the supplement manufactured in a GMP certified facility or not. Do they do any other tests? For example, I know for certain brands that they test their own supplements during the production, for example, when they get a new production batch, and you can find those tests on the home site, and you can see, like, they check if the dosages of individual compounds are within the limits that they need to be. Because, like, one big issue that's happening is nowadays in the supplement industry is that you buy a particular supplement, but at the end you don't get what's written on the label. Either it's too much of it inside, or usually too little or nothing at all. So this is sometimes that we can check. We can check that as well. And then now we have a biochemist in the team that is helping us with his scientific know-how, especially when it comes to combining different compounds together. So if there was, for example, there's just the basic example would be like caffeine and L-theanine inside, what's the dosage of each, what's the optimal dosage that we know right now, that you get, the best benefits of caffeine without the side effects, and how can L-theanine help here, and if there are like some other compounds that have similar effects than L-theanine, how should then L-theanine be minimized, like what should be the optimal dosage of L-theanine, so to still get the benefits of caffeine without, maybe the benefits of caffeine are strong enough, for example. So we do that kind of research before we even try the product, and before we even get to the our personal experience and effects and so on.
I see. That's very interesting. So in my understanding, you analyze more so the production and contents of a specific product, and not any specific ingredient. Like, you don't analyze the scientific evidence that for or against the statement that acetylcholine, for example, is effective for enhancing a person's focus.
Yeah, we checked it as well, of course. So we start with like getting like a basic overview and all those factors that we can quickly check, like like production standards, like the amount of ingredients and so on. And of course, we have like a whole list of all nootropics that exist with all the studies that we found. And then we have like we wrote down basically and that's based on our subjective work, but still, how strong are the effects for a particular compound? What kind of effects can you expect, and what does the science say about this? And we have a whole list of that. So we just put in basically all the ingredients from a particular supplement in the list, right? And then we can quickly see, okay, like for acetylcholine, for example, we say, yeah, is acetylcholine in? Yes, it is. What kind of form is it in? Is it like the branded version, non-branded version? Which version is it, and how much is it in? So, and then we see, okay, that's like based on the studies that we found, and based on the current research, this is probably too little to expect any effects, or that's like a bit too much. So maybe short-term effects will be there, but the long-term safety is questionable, basically. So that's what we do for each particular supplement. And we go through all the ingredients. Of course, we don't forget about the fillers and other compounds that are usually mixed, in such supplements. And then we start doing, then we start testing these supplements. Because we go in this direction, what happens is, it really depends from person to person. But what we want to do, like as YourInception, we really want to help people find the best, the most effective, but also the safest nootropic supplements, and also other supplements that you can currently buy on the market. And the safety part is very important for us. On the other hand, of course, you have performance, but if, for example, if a particular nootropic supplement contains just one compound that is totally overdosed and can be very risky to take in the long term without either cycling it, or maybe it's better if this compound wouldn't be in. So if such supplement is super effective, we usually would write down, yeah, this supplement is really like short-term effects, super strong, and then you can you feel this and this. However, because the long-term safety is questionable because it contains this compound, and based on the study, this compound is potentially unsafe for long-term use, we don't recommend this supplement right now. So that's how we did it. So we weighed different factors. The way we feel is the best way for people to it's not, I'm not saying that's the absolute best way to do it, but that's how we did. And there are like certain factors that we challenge one fact with another fact, like long-term safety and short-term performance, and then we when we write the reviews or create videos, I usually try to point to those differences and the stuff that we found in during our research. so that people know, what to expect. And sometimes one example is like, there was one student, and I think he was studying on, I think it was Cambridge, in the UK. And he said, I have this, super hard exam. I need something for 2 weeks. That's it. Okay. So if you need a supplement or a nootropic for, that's going to help you get focused and give you the energy for 2 weeks, even if the long-term safety is questionable, I mean, you shouldn't really care about, I mean, it's not that important, right? Because you're only going to take this for 2 weeks, hopefully. So for such cases, of course, you can recommend a totally different nootropic or totally different supplement. But for the majority of people, when you have those lists of best nootropics for focus or memory, whatever, we come up with more general recommendations, because based on our experience, the majority of people search for something like for supplements that they're going to take for a bit longer period, and we don't want to suggest any supplements that can be potentially harmful because of the ingredients they contain.
It's very interesting. It sounds like your lists of the best nootropics for memory and well-being or energy, wherever someone is interested in getting from a nootropic, could be a good complement to the lists that we have put out. We've actually put out similar lists for, today we published a list for the top 5 most science-backed nootropics for increasing your energy levels. So we reviewed 527 placebo-controlled studies, collected all the data from them on 254 different nootropics, and then we found out which nootropics were the most effective for example, increasing one's energy levels. And it sounds like you have used a bit of a different methodology where you, in quite a systematic way, use your own subjective effects and the subjective effects experienced by the people in your team to put together a similar list. So I'd encourage our listeners to check your list out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just checking. I mean, I've seen your site before. I checked it out. I've seen the studies. I've seen the top lists. And actually, what we could do here. I mean, maybe that shouldn't be part of this this call right now. But anyway, we should think like how we could use how we should combine how to help people really get all the the most accurate information that there is, because you're really so based, if I understand correctly, I mean, you really focus more on finding like the most effective individual compounds.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we did this in the very beginning, but then we saw like most people were asking us about nootropic supplements and nootropic stacks, and what we decided to do is go more into this direction, because we were so I personally was, when I was searching for a nootropic stack when I was searching for nootropics for myself in the very beginning, when I came across nootropics, I was in 2015. I quickly came across nootropic supplements, and then I bought different supplements. I had no idea about supplements back then. I bought different supplements. I got them at home. I tried them out. They were like, in most cases, nothing happened, and I spent lots of money on that. And then, sometimes I felt like either super sick, I had like, stomach pain, I had like different side effects. And back then I didn't know like what's going on. And what I figured out is that the whole industry is kind of a rigged, it's different brands try to come up with those, I say partly fake supplements that everyone has the same formula pretty much. And they promise you, that you're going to feel like, Bradley Cooper in the, in the famous movie, and Limitless, and and then people expect way too much, but most of the supplements are really not there. They really don't deliver on promise. So, long story short, we went more into the direction of reviewing supplements, but of course we use our know-how of how individual compounds work to kind of um, evaluate supplements better. So we should definitely think of how to do this, like how to use your know-how and how to combine this to get even better recommendations for people if they want to buy individual compounds or if they want to buy nootropic stacks.
Yeah, let's discuss that later.
Absolutely.
So I'm interested for your individual nootropic favorites. Like you mentioned, you experimented with individual isolated compounds as well. Which ones were your favorite nootropics?
Yeah, so I mean, in the very beginning, I started with the very basic stuff. Like I think L-theanine was one of the first compounds that I tried, which I say it's a nootropic. Many say just an amino acid. Okay, it's something to discuss. but obviously L-theanine and caffeine were like in the very beginning something I started testing with, and then I quickly came across racetams and Nootropic, but I went away from them, not because they're like synthetic or man-made. By the way, there was one. I just had a call with one brand. I think it was yesterday, and they said they tried to remove the synthetic synthetic nootropic, like the kind of like they don't want anyone to use this word, but they want to like go more into the direction of like man-made nootropic, which sounds much better, I think. so I went through like different racetams and new and stuff, but then I came back, start like testing like Bacopa monnieri, Rhodiola rosea, like lion's mane mushroom, citicoline, alpha GPC, those compounds, and more, of course. But every single time, I think like and in most nootropic supplements as well, I think those are kind of the most effective, effective, and I have the best experience with those compounds. So there is Bacopa monnieri for sure, that can improve cognitive function, can improve memory, works as an antioxidant. Rhodiola rosea, which works really well together with Bacopa monnieri based on our experience, which can reduce fatigue and stress, and thus increase serotonin, so that it has a positive impact on mood. And then I still really like recommending just like L-theanine and caffeine combined. I know it's very basic also for the listeners, I think, but it really, you get the best thing about this combo is you get the quick energy boost, and you don't get the side effect like the jittery that you get from drinking coffee, for example, or that most people get because of the L-theanine. So this is kind of the basic combo I really like to take personally. And then, of course, citicoline, also alpha GPC, but citicoline more. I use this daily, basically, especially for for general cognitive performance. I like to call it like that way, even though it does it helps with brain regeneration as well, and I think it's a memory enhancer. And then one of the other like nootropics that I mentioned before, like lion's mane mushroom, the dietary mushroom, it has quite some studies as well. Especially, I think it's especially important for for the brain regeneration, and the growth of neurons. I think it increases the NGF, the neurogrowth factor, and it can potentially slow down cognitive decline. So I know a lot of experts also that studied lion's mane recommend it for the long-term use. This is one of the nootropics that I often recommend for the long-term use, especially in this biohacking field, where people really look for living a long and healthy life, and really thinking like they're searching for compounds that can help with anti-aging or longevity. And I think lion's mane can be beneficial there as well. So I mean, those are kind of like my top 5 compounds that I like, and that are really more or less well studied, have been used for a long period, especially like Bacopa and Rhodiola, and I have a really good experience with those. When it comes to as I said before, of course, there are like many other nootropics, like from ginseng to like, yeah, a whole bunch of them. Like I think we have like a nootropics list of 84 nootropics on it. I know what you did actually. I'll be interested to see how many you put together. But one thing here is, I really love, like, especially because the people that we target, or like people that come on YourInception, they really like taking nootropic supplements. Then what we usually do is, also when it comes to individual compounds, we know that many people will take them together. So we usually try to evaluate, like, how those work together. So when I tell people, I take the coppa and rhodiola together with like L-theanine and caffeine, I want to be sure that this is a combo that works well together and not, doesn't bring any, side effects or whatever. So when I talk about individual compounds, I always think about how would they work in a stack if you just put them all together in a supplement.
And how do you think about that?
What do you mean? Like the nootropic stacks, or?
Yeah, how do you think about how different compounds might work together?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing I think we agree on is that, like, that certain nootropics work and that certain nootropics provide certain benefits, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I think we're still not clear on is that how exactly they work. Like, I'm talking about, like, if you say, of course we know for a particular compound how it works, but not for all nootropics. I think we're not there yet. But what we know is that, nootropics can improve brain energy, right? They can enhance the activity of mitochondria. They can optimize our neurotransmitters. Like you have precursors like acetylcholine, that then changes into acetylcholine, for example, and so on. Like you have B vitamins that influence the neurotransmitters, and so on. And then we know that they can raise brain waves, like L-theanine is known for that. Then we also know that certain nootropics can help with brain regeneration. They can provide the crucial antioxidants, right? Like coenzyme Q10 or PQQ, or like resveratrol, for example. So there are really different benefits we can expect from nootropics, and what we know is that each individual compounds works in a particular way and influence our brain performance in a particular way. So when you combine them together in a nootropic stack, for example, so in theory at least, you should get more effects or stronger effects, or at least just making the whole user experience better, because you only have to swallow 1 or 2 pills instead of taking all those let's say powders, if you buy nootropics in powder form, and take all them individually. So you improve the user experience, if nothing else. And we know that certain like nootropics work really well together, and if you take one, then the other one works better, or it's supposed to work better. So I think we are still not there yet. At least we at YourInception, we don't know that for sure. Not like the best combination of the best nootropics, how to combine them, what to expect from them. But at least we know the basics, and we know like if you take certain minerals. So I mean, I've checked that out, but I know if you take one mineral, you can get you need to take another mineral as well, because by supplementing one mineral you can get depleted in the second mineral, or like with vitamins, so the same thing happens. And those are kind of the basics. So I think I see lots of potential in nootropic stacks. So having said that, I really hope we're gonna have more clear science here to say which nootropics to combine, how to combine them in a safe and effective way. I know there are ongoing studies for certain nootropic supplements. I wasn't part of it. I was part of a beta study, basically for one nootropic supplement. That was last year. And they used pretty advanced like system for evaluating the effectiveness of this supplement. But it was just a very simple beta study just to get certain results out. And I don't know what's the next step, and I know for like some other, I don't want to name any brands here, but I know for some other brands that they have, I think there's one double-blind placebo-controlled study done for one nootropic supplement, and it shows that if you take it, your focus increases for a certain amount, and so on. So something is going on here, and in the future, I find that brands that gonna invest into research here, they're gonna have a big competitive advantage. I hope, at least.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's really important, in my opinion, as is my understanding that it is in your opinion as well, that there is actually good science to back up the efficacy of any single compound or any combination of substances, and that the product that someone is taking is actually effective. So if you have the choice as a consumer, then you should go for the substances or the products that have the most science backing their efficacy.
I totally agree with you. There's one more thing though, that you know, for example, like for me, I mean, nootropics are kind of like, you know, I take certain nootropics daily, and the other problem is that I really test lots of supplements that I get here in the office, and the issue with that is that, you know, I can't, because I'm testing different supplements, I cannot, you know, take nootropics that I want to, or sometimes that's just impossible to do, because otherwise the test results wouldn't be fair or, you know, accurate at all. But what I see, like so I see nootropics as something that, so personally, I think like they help me, instead of working on like, and I'm just making those numbers up, but just to get an idea, instead of working on like 90%, they help me get to 95%. Okay. That's kind of how I see nootropics, to give me this additional edge, to give me some additional brain power, some more focus, some more, you know, when I'm stressed, to help me get slightly more relaxed. Sometimes they help me with certain nootropics, with sleep and that kind of stuff. But that's how I see them. However, when I talk to people, and we have quite a high reach on YourInception, especially on the YouTube channel, and we get lots of comments and lots of questions, and people like have usually, so the majority of people that I know or that reach out to us, they have a different view of nootropics, and they see them as this you know, limitless brain pill that's gonna solve all their problems, that's gonna increase their IQ, give them this, you know, unlimited brain power, so that they're gonna use it to, you know, create great companies, or, you know, make lots of money, or whatever they want to do that with that, right? So they see it as a shortcut to success, which, in my opinion, nootropics really aren't, because a very simple test, you know, you can take the strongest nootropic stack in the world, or you can make it at home, and then, you know, try to sleep 2 hours per night for like 2 weeks, and, you know, take this nootropic stack and tell me what's going to happen. Right. So I mean, probably nothing, and you will want to go back to bed. Right.
Right.
So if you don't take care of the basics, like the basic biohacking, like, I mean, that's how I like to call it, then you shouldn't expect too much effect from taking nootropics. If you don't sleep enough, like, you know, you won't really feel much from, you know, just taking or just drinking like coffee, for example, and so on. So what we start doing now is, and most people that reach to us, and that I know from the whole biohacking industry, is that, yeah, they forget about the basics. They want to skip the basics, and they just want to go towards, you know, finding and taking the best nootropics and nootropic supplements, because they think they can trick themselves, or, you know, their bodies and their brains by doing that. And what we want to do now more is that we want to, you know, we're not selling nootropics, but we want to convince people to buy nootropics and nootropic supplements, because and then a kind of we want to work with different brands that invest some money into developing, like, different like guides and handbooks and stuff, additional like add-on know-how, so that when people buy a nootropic or nootropic stack, and then they get this additional know-how that tells people, like, you bought this nootropic stack, now you paid $50 for it, doesn't matter. Now, if you really want to get, all the effects that you want to get, don't forget about optimizing your sleep, getting more, optimizing productivity, and so on and so on and so on. So I see it like, because like the goal, the mission of YourInception is to help people find the most effective and safest supplements and nootropic supplements. But my personal like mission here is more like, helping people to be more successful at what they're doing, and help them become more focused and more productive and so on. So I see like nootropics nowadays more like, that's at least my personal opinion, is that you sell someone a nootropic supplement, and this kind of triggers the whole how to say this. So it kind of helps people to start changing their other habits as well. It's kind of like the entry point into optimizing their overall performance by taking a real nootropic that does do something. So it does something, you feel something, but it's just like a starting point to take care of everything else that needs to be taken care of if you want to work on such a high level.
Yeah, I really love that philosophy, and it's something that I think can be applied to almost any area of your life. So take, for example, your social interactions, and you experiment with ashwagandha, let's say, and you have this completely nervousness-free experience with your with people that you may not know very well and are usually nervous around. So just knowing that this is how it feels, not to be nervous, can actually help you to, without ashwagandha as well, move more in that direction and start to experience less nervousness during your social interactions.
Totally. So I think in this case, like the placebo effect, it's actually a good thing. It solves, or it helps solving the initial problem that the person had.
Right.
So and if someone has to, I don't know, spend $20 a month to get ashwagandha and take it, and we know that you can expect some benefits, but still, and if you add on the benefits, if you add on this like the placebo, and then this knowing that that ashwagandha should help, and because of you think it's going to help, it helps even more, then I think that's a win-win. Again, it's you help to solve a particular problem, and I think that's like a legit way of doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you can get the placebo effect very strongly, that's a great thing. But you'll also, of course, want to, especially in the long term, only use supplements that actually do work as well.
Absolutely, 100% sure. It's true.
Yeah.
I had this. I got this. I was at the biohacking conference in Toronto. That was in 2018. A biohacking summit. And I got this. I was served this coffee. It was apparently the strongest coffee in the world, right? So I smelled it. It smelled, it was a super strong coffee. It smelled like a super strong coffee. I tasted it. I was convinced like it must be like, I know that like if the coffee tastes strong, like if it tastes strong, it doesn't mean it contains lots of caffeine, but still, like the way it smelled, it tasted, like I was convinced, there must be lots of caffeine inside. So I drank the coffee. And they asked me like 15 minutes, like, how do you feel? I said, like, I was super hyped up, I had lots of energy. I was jumping around, and I'm usually an introvert, I don't like, being like, talking to people. And I have lots of issues, or I had in the past lots of issues with that. And, I had like no issues with like, I think they even filmed me, and, and I was talking. Then like after like a couple of minutes, I said, you drank a caffeine-free coffee. I was like, yeah, of course I did. And I was like, no, for sure. And they showed me the label and everything. I was like, man, I know about the placebo. I know, like how could you trick me? You know, I was just shocked, you know. But it was super easy to trick me. So if you would give me this coffee, I would probably drink it every single day. There was just like, you know, in a caffeine-free version, there's just like a little bit of caffeine inside. You know, I would feel amazing, you know, but not because of caffeine, but just because of the placebo.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. The placebo effect is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
But like you said before, if it's not just the placebo effect, but if there's like, if placebo effect comes with a compound that does deliver, you know, certain benefits, then, you know, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. Right. It sounds like we have a lot to talk about in the future, you and I.
Absolutely.
But I think that this will have to be the end for this podcast episode. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for inviting me. It was lovely to talk.